Sir. Good evening, everyone. Um, we want to take this opportunity to welcome all our members of IEK as a small committee, task force committee on roads, transport and highways. We'll soon be starting the meeting in 1 or 2 minutes. Just bear with us. Our program today, as you can see, it's shared there on the screens. And my name is Engineer Michael Ochieng. I'm the chair of this committee. Our moderator today will be Engineer George Maderi. We scheduled to start at 4. We are a few minutes, 6:49 right now. We'll have an opening prayer from Engineer Mwakio, followed by some remarks from the chair. And then we'll have Engineer Jennifer Korir, the chair on the Policy and Legislative Committee, and the head of task forces to give the remarks, and invite our president, Engineer Shamala Kiteme, to officially open this webinar. We'll make some presentations from our members of the task force. We'll touch a bit on Project Cycle. Road safety is a great concern in the issues affecting our country, and we'll chip in, and of course, the transport. We will proceed to some questions and answers, and we'll try to keep time as much as possible, with ending with a closing remark. This is our first webinar, and we hope our president will give us clear guidance in his speech on the way task forces their work and how they'll proceed in the program. I want to take this opportunity, therefore, to hand you over to Engineer George Maderi, who is our moderator. It will begin in a few minutes. Engineer George, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, first, then let's welcome our moderator today, Engineer George Maderi. Please proceed.
Engineer Makio, please. Okay, I think now Mokio is, can I ask Engineer Karen to lead us in a word of prayer?
Yes, Engineer, I'm online. But
Oh, sorry, Mokio is online. Sorry,
Yes.
thank you. Karibu.
Good evening, members. We can believe and pray. Yeah? Almighty God, we thank you for the gift of life today and for the opportunity to come together virtually for the Transportation and Highways Taskforce webinar. We pray for your guidance as we engage in discussions that will shape the future of transportation in our nation. We lift up the leadership of the Institution of Engineers, Kenya, asking you to grant them wisdom, clarity, as they steer this great institution towards meaningful outcomes. May your spirit of unity and collaboration inspire each one of us as we work together towards solutions that promote safety, efficiency, and sustainability in our transport systems. May our decisions reflect the needs of the people we serve, and may all our efforts bring glory to your name. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Engineer Mwakio. I want to introduce the team that is in the members of the Transport and Highways Task Force. They include our chairperson, who is Engineer Michael Ochieng. Engineer Michael Ochieng is a registered professional consulting engineer. He has a BSc in civil engineering, MSc transportation engineering, and has over 30 years experience as a highway transportation engineer, water and sewerage dams engineer, with expertise in design and construction supervision, management and development of the construction specifications. The next person is myself, Engineer George Matheri, BSc Civil Engineering, MSc, and the PhD just completing now, University of Nairobi. Over 30 years experience in highways and transportation engineering, and expertise in transport economics, design, and supervision, construction supervision. Also a member of the institution, and a member of the Architectural Association of Kenya. Next one is in Emi Amimo, again a professional engineer, a member of the institution, of BSc, MSc in Transportation Engineering, with 15 years experience as highway engineer, with expertise in geometric design and pavement design, and analysis, materials investigation, and testing, and construction supervision as well. We also have Engineer Joseph Mwakio, who is also a professional engineer, member of the institution, holds a BSc in mechanical engineering. Engineer Mwakio, of course, is a seasoned professional mechanical engineer and a transport and public sector worker with over 7 years experience in the field, holding a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and of course a member of the institution. Then we have Engineer Thitai John, who is also a professional engineer, a member of the institution, and an EPRA A Class A1 holder. He has a BSc in Electrical Engineering, an MSc in Project Management. He has over 10 years experience as an electrical engineer with diverse knowledge in industrial controls and machines and road lighting, weighbridge installations, domestic and commercial electrical design and installations. And engineer is currently working with the Kenya National Highways Authority as a senior engineer. We also have Engineer Karen Jirono Kichumba, who is also a professional engineer, member of the institution, holder of mechanical engineering, BSc and MSc, and a senior mechanical engineer with over 10 years experience, skill development of product specifications, design operations and maintenance, currently in a formulation of policies, procedures, and implementation of these activities will develop the delivery of a policy legislation framework. So these are the members of the committee, and we are trying to do a good job for the institution. And thankfully, I think with your support, we'll be able to get there. Without wasting time, I'll ask our chairperson, Engineer Michael Ochieng, to welcome guests. Thank you, Engineer.
Thank you very much, our colleagues and members of IEK, for sparing time to participate in this very important event. We are trying to ensure that the task force activity, which mainly focus on challenges on transport, particularly rail, road, and NMTs within the country, are done professionally, are done up to the standards, and also are operated and maintained in accordance with the best practices. For that purpose, and not to go to more details, we're going to go to details at presentations. Mine is to welcome you. I want to take the opportunity to welcome our president also, who is available, and also Engineer Jennifer, who will be giving us her remarks shortly, because she's the needs of all the task forces. So back to you, moderator.
Thank you. I think apologies, I forgot to mention Engineer Coril is a member of this committee. Welcome, Engineer Jennifer, for the comments. Sorry, I'm told Engineer Jennifer is just joining. I think, can I then ask our chair, Engineer Michael, to proceed with the comments? The next phase.
Yes. As earlier said, we are under the IEK task force. And the task forces were formed some time back. Our president is going to highlight that in a few minutes. We have had several sessions across the year. We have been looking at activities that are going on in the sector, as we had earlier mentioned. And this task force specifically wants to ensure that there are available documentation on activities that are going on, that we are working together with other stakeholders in this transport sector to improve and to ensure that our roads are safe, to ensure that our rails are safe, to ensure that urban transport, particularly in urban areas where we are dealing with the improvement of roads, whether rehabilitating or whether expanding them, take due consideration to all factors that enable safety and enable easy mobility across. I want to believe that us as a task force will make comments, and obviously the main committee, IEK committee, will then look at them. But we've found it fit that as we prepare our documents, it must necessarily be shared with all the members of IEK, so that your inputs are quite valuable to us. That's the main reason why we thought, let's share what we have, let's share our thinking, and we really encourage you as members of IEK to participate and give us your feedback, whether positive, negative. Please just give us. We will absorb all of them so that we can make better documents and better contribution to the improvement of highways and transport in this country. Thank you very much. Let's go back to our moderator.
I will also ask our chair to welcome the president for his comments. Thank you. Protocols observed.
Thank you, Engineer Maderi. I want to, first of all, thank the president for his big guidance in this trip. He has been taking a major lead and a major guidance to make us reach where we are today. And this was part of his main vision. So our President, Engineer Shamala Kiteme, if you are in, please, Shama Kiteme, sorry, I misspelled my name, is the name. Miss Engineer Shama Kiteme, our colleague and also a very respected engineer, our leader in IEK. Please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Please confirm you can hear me, you can see me.
We can hear you, President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can see the response. Good evening, members. Like you were told, my name is Engineer Shama Kiteme, President IEK. I want to take this opportunity to most sincerely thank the Transportation and Highways Taskforce that has organized this webinar. We did establish these task forces in 2024, and they have done incredible job. This particular task force, under the leadership of Engineer Michael Ochieng and a very vibrant membership of Engineer Materi, Engineer Esther Emi, Grace Nduta, John Titai, Mwakio, and basically all task force members. They have been very prolific in engaging on the issues in this sector. And that is the essence of the institution, advocacy. We have stayed ahead of the pack. We have engaged the society on issues affecting the sector. And it is principally because this task force has been very vibrant, and I want to sincerely thank you, because you have fed into the council the information we need to be able to take positions. You have synthesized it, and it has helped the image of IEK fly there. We would not probably have taken a number of positions without the task force thinking through and helping us and back up with data and information that is relevant. It is the vision and the policy of the institution to be a leader in advocacy, to be a leader in fighting for the welfare of engineers, and these things are intertwined. This was a vision behind the creation of the task forces, and we have a number of them, this being one of them, transportation and highways. We have agriculture, aviation, building. We have task force on energy. We have a task force on digital superhighway and telecommunications. So we established these task forces to be composed of thematic area experts and authorities in these areas. And that's why you hear Engineer John Majberi, 30 years, over 30 years of experience. You can hear Engineer Michael Ochieng, over 30 years of experience. So that when IEK takes a position, it is from a point of authority, something that has been synthesized by experts and practicing engineers. And the outcome has been very good. The results have been tremendous. There is no public statement that we have released that has not earned the respect of the industry. And we want to say the council is going to boldly continue to engage with the society in defending the position of the engineer. And we will do this from a point of knowledge, expertise, and understanding. Our today's webinar is a series of webinars that all these task forces will brief and take members through the policies we have developed. This process will be a way of actually validating the positions so that when we discuss, we have the policy on water and wastewater. The policy developed by the task force is validated by members through giving it. And now we are going to use this to engage policymakers. Members, you saw us take a position on Adani. You saw us take a position on road traffic accidents. You saw us take position on the new entrants in the telecom sector. It is because we have thought leaders in our midst and they have dedicated themselves to be able to see the issues that are affecting the society and give us to take an informed position. This is going to continue. It has been new with this council, like you have noted, and I can guarantee you we will continue to engage the society as IEK and from a point of being subject matter experts. We have really spread our impact and influence in the society through these initiatives. When we released the statement on road traffic accidents, members will recall that we were invited by Kenya bus manufacturers to go and see how we can manufacture buses that are safe. And if we had not released that statement, we probably would not have been invited. We released a statement on the state of manufacturing and where the manufacturing force had a lot of say. That statement led to IEK being invited by PS for investment of Hassan Abubakar to consider the issues that we raised and how we can work with the government to address them. And so when we invite you for these webinars that are coming subsequent to this, I do request that we are able to participate, give our input, so that when we give our input, we are then able to validate, and then when we validate, then we can engage policymakers with these documents. I can see someone saying they can't hear. Please confirm you can hear me. Can you hear me? Anyone, please confirm you can hear me. Okay, thank you. I have someone has responded that they can. So I want to inform you members, the council is working very hard to make sure that we are felt and we are seen. And we will not shy from taking our position on matters affecting the society because we committed to you members to provide leadership in the infrastructure space and leadership that can be felt, leadership that can be seen, and it is basically what we've been able to do and will continue doing it. And so I want to thank more sincerely the task force headed by Engineer Michael Ochieng because they've done a fantastic job and we are going to do a lot more because we have to take this space and this position of leadership. So I want to invite all of us to an engaging session and let us contribute. Let us come to a consensus on the positions that we can take publicly. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, President, for those very encouraging remarks. And we really appreciate your time today, including the leadership that you have been giving us as a task force to be able to achieve these results. I believe you'll be always there to support us and to make sure that IEK during your tenure has milestones that have never been achieved before. We really want to take our space in the engineering fraternity and not allow things to fall apart. Say these are engineers who have done this, yet other people have taken the space of engineers and they're a champion on that. Thank you very much. So I won't take much time. I will go to our moderator to proceed with the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Members, we have presentations. We are prepared, 3 of them. The first one on project cycle will be presented by Engineer Michael Ochieng with Engineer Esther Emi. Then the second one will have a second presentation by, sorry. The second presentation on road safety by Engineer Grace Nduta. Sorry, I did not introduce Engineer Grace Nduta when I was doing the introduction, but Grace Nduta is actually a member of the task force as well, with a vast experience, again, in highways and transportation. Yes. Then also there will be a third presentation on transportation done by second one, I'm sorry. Road safety by Engineer Grace Nduta and Engineer John Titai. And then a third presentation on transportation by Engineer Joseph Mwakio, Engineer Karen Gerono. So Engineer Michael and Engineer Emi, karibu for the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Our presentation will be very brief, and I will give this opportunity to my colleague, Engineer Emi, to proceed. Thank you. It's just being uploaded on top, I believe. We can now see it. Yeah. Engineer Emi, please proceed.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Engineer Esther Emi Amimo. I'll be making this presentation. This presentation has been prepared in collaboration with Engineer Michael Ochieng. I'll be doing the presentation. So to begin with, you have, as the President has mentioned and the Chair has mentioned, we are part of the task force on transport and highways. And one of the responsibilities of the task force is to formulate standards for the Institution of Engineers of Kenya for design, construction, and maintenance of transport infrastructure. So this is just one of the tasks we undertook to develop some standards. And our presentation will be focusing on the project cycle. And I will start by just reminding us what the project cycle looks like. And this is what we have on the screen. This project cycle applies to all forms of facilities, transportation facilities, be it a road, be it a bridge, be it an airport runway. All forms of transportation facilities would go through this cycle. So you'll start at project identification. At project identification, you're looking at the type of project you want to put up. And a project is identified based on the needs. The needs can come from the institution. The needs can come from the community, the population. The needs can even come from a political angle based on like a manifesto. So that is where the project identification starts. And at this stage, you're looking at possible funding sources and the location, you're looking at that project generally. Once you've identified the project, you want to go to the procurement, to the planning and feasibility studies. So you may want to do a consultancy for the feasibility studies, or you may have the capacity to do it in-house. And basically, under planning and feasibility studies, you'll be doing the economic appraisal, doing the social and environmental impact of the project you have identified. Next in the cycle, you want to go to design stage. Once you do your planning and feasibility study, if you have the capacity, you might do it in-house or have a consultant. And at that stage, you may develop the terms of reference and the RFPs for the design consultancy. So whichever way you do it, whether in-house or through consultancy, you go to the next stage of preliminary and detailed design. Under the design, let's take a highway project. You will start by doing the geometric design. You start by doing the topographic surveys, traffic surveys. Then you do your geometric and pavement design. And your output will be the engineering report, drawings. You'll prepare quantities, bills of quantities, and bidding documents. This is what will help you to develop your tender document. So once you're done with the design, you move to the tendering process. And based on the cost estimates, based on what quantities you have and the budget, you go to tender. You invite tenders for construction of the project. You evaluate the tenders and award the contract. Again, at this stage, if you have the capacity, you will, as an institution, you will do your supervision in-house, or you will procure a consultant to supervise your project. Then now you go to the construction works. Under construction works, there's the preliminaries where you do your mobilization, your insurance and security. You carry out your contract supervision and management, quality assurance. Throughout the project, it's a routine. Most of these tasks are a routine up until you're done with the project. Then you go to the completion of the contract, where now you have the final report, the handover, and where you generate your as-built documentation, the as-built drawing and specifications. One thing that happens at the completion is the project handover, where you hand over, if the contractor and the engineer, they hand over the project. And the next phase is now the operation and maintenance stage. And at this point, if the facility was handed over, now it is in use, it is being used, and monitoring and evaluation of its performance should be carried out up until that facility has served its design life, or ready for rehabilitation, and the cycle will go again. So as part of the task force, we are looking at the project cycle, whether the project is being implemented as a design and build, whether it is being done as a public-private partnership. You will follow the same cycle. And we were looking at the various gaps that we have noticed in the industry. For you to try and develop standards and specifications, you need to identify the gaps. We acknowledge that the industry already has standards, it has guidelines, it has their specifications for doing all our transport and infrastructure and highway facilities. But we we as a task force have identified some gaps, and we have proposals that we are bringing forward now to members for discussion. So in the cycle, starting at planning and feasibility studies, one of the gaps we noted is that this phase of the project is usually omitted for most transport and highways projects. And also another gap is that the procedure for carrying out the feasibility and planning studies is not harmonized and standardized. So as a task force, we note that the Ministry of Roads has a feasibility study document that was developed under EU in 2016. As a starting point, this is something we are proposing that can be adopted as a standard. Secondly, we propose that planning and feasibility studies are carried out for all transport and highways projects and documented before implementation. Another proposal is the involvement of a wider range of practitioners. Some or most of the feasibility studies currently are carried out by economists only, with the minimum involvement of engineers. So we are proposing to have design engineers, urban planners, economic planners, sociologists, and environmentalists in the feasibility and planning stage. And number 4, we are advocating that the reports must be vetted by professional engineers. We're proposing for establishment of peer review committees. Once these feasibility studies are out, the institutions, the agencies, the roads agencies, the transportation agencies have independent peer review committees to look at this report. Next in the cycle is the design phase. Some of the gaps that we have noted under the design phase are the specifications and the standards that we currently use. For instance, our road manuals, they require a review and updating. What we are using was last drafted in the 1980s. We can't say that the manuals have not worked. We have been using them, but they have gaps in terms of not completely covering the whole project cycle. They need also to incorporate new materials and new technologies. Some of the manuals are also still in draft form. So updating them would improve the efficiency of design. We also need some standalone manuals for the social aspects of design. We need standalone manuals for social impact assessments, environmental impact assessments. We also need standalone manuals for rigid pavement design, standalone manuals for the new forms of structures. Another gap that we also note is the omission of the detailed engineering design in some projects, where procuring of project goes to tender stage without a factual design. This is where an engineer does a desk design. They use engineering judgment to do desk design, and this sometimes leads to cost overruns at the construction stage. Another gap that we note is also road safety considerations are minimal at the design stage, and sometimes they seem to be an afterthought. My colleague, the next presentation will be about road safety, so I'll not spend much time on that. So some of the proposals by the task force: 1, we propose that the review and updating of design manuals to be regular, and the reviews to ensure adaptation to new technologies, climate resilient designs, and sustainability. We are also aware that there's a current review process for the road design manual, and we are proposing that it be concluded promptly so that the industry can start using the new manuals. Another thing that we are emphasizing on is the detailed engineering design must be carried out before both construction and in maintenance projects to ensure value for money, to ensure accuracy of designs. Also emphasis on road safety at design stage, and this includes taking care of the non-motorized transport, the geometry of our road, also lighting, especially in urban areas. Another proposal is approval of designs by a competent team of engineers before tender. You remember at feasibility stage, we are proposing to have peer review committees. We are also proposing the same, to have independent peer review committees for design. Also, digitization of designs or better data management of designs, and especially for urban roads, have the urban design manual prioritized. The next phase is the tendering phase. And we recognize that the diligence of a project comes from a good design report, and the tender documentation process is also important. We are currently using the PPRA guideline for procurement of our contracts. But one of the shortcomings of using this is that the PPRA guideline gives so much power to the procurement head in matters award of tenders. And we are proposing that the head of department, especially in our transportation agency and road agencies, being professional engineers, to be allowed to give a professional opinion in the approval of award of tenders. One thing we note is that the issue of the engineer's cost estimates, we note that there have been challenges there with the undercutting and leakage. But we are proposing that these challenges can be addressed so that we know the law says that tenders are awarded to the lowest bidder, but can the lowest bidder also be technically responsive? Can the lowest bidder also be realistic so that a project can be completed, a project can be delivered? And we believe that if the head of department, the professional engineer, is allowed to have an opinion in the award, then that is one of the ways to achieve the project. Next is the construction phase. Now, under the construction phase, same as at the design stage, our existing standard and specifications. We are using the standard specifications for road and bridge construction that was done in 1986. Yes, it has worked for the years, but we also need to have a review of the same to incorporate advancements in construction technologies, materials. We note that the materials there are innovations in road construction materials, the innovations in road safety materials, road furniture. There are innovations even in the construction equipment. The rollers that were there in 1980 have some improvements. So changing the specifications would contribute much to the industry. Another gap that we have noted, and this is coming from a good place, resident engineers in the house, it's coming from a good place. We have noted that there's also over-engagement of key personnel for supervision of contracts. And you have probably one resident engineer handling more than 3 projects, more than 5 projects at the same time in different locations. What this brings most of the time is poor supervision, because one person can do so much. Most of the time, it also leads to over delegation, because this engineer cannot be in all the projects at the same time. Another gap that we have identified is lack of standardization in contract supervision, and this mostly is in the documentation and personnel. So some of the proposals we have, first, as we mentioned earlier, we are aware that our manuals are being reviewed, and we propose that, advocate that the review process is completed, and also have regular reviews so that we're up to date with the industry. The second proposal we have is that the transportation agencies, the roads agencies, consider outsourcing supervision through employment of individual consultants as resident engineers. The IEK and IEK have registers of consulting engineers, and these professional engineers can be recommended by our institutions. So the employer can give delegated powers according to the forms of contract, and this can avoid poor supervision by engineers who are overloaded. Another proposal we have, and this is in the pipeline, is development of standardized site forms, site instructions, test reports, inspection reports. The ministry can take up this mandate. As we are doing these standards, we recognize the mandates of the ministries, but also as IEK, we are advocating for such standards. And one of the things the task force is doing is develop templates for these activities. We are also advocating for standardized requirements for personnel, for both the contractors and the engineers representatives, so that you have, if you have a site that has a resident engineer, a site engineer, a design engineer, the contractor has a foreman, it has a site engineer, site agent, their requirements need to be personalized. The next phase of the cycle was the project completion and handover. And one of the gaps that we've noted, and this usually comes at when research has to be done or rehabilitations have to be done on our transportation facilities. One of the gaps is traceability of as-built data. This challenge is even faced by service providers whenever they want water companies want to do their services, fiber optic. They don't have we lack as-built data for our networks, our roads. The next gap is no testing. Very little testing is carried out on completion, no baseline data. Sometimes the employer or the implementing agency does not know what is being handed over to them. They're just receiving a facility and they don't know how it was constructed or the quality and the level of compliance. Lastly, also is the gaps in handing over is poor planning for operation and maintenance, and especially in urban areas. So one of the proposals that we have is digitization of designs and as-built records. And this is more about data management, because I know the roads agencies have this as-built data, or they have the design records. However, the management of the data is not centralized. So probably this is one of the things that we'll be advocating for the ministry and the roads agencies and the transportation agencies to look at. We are also advocating for collection of baseline data at the end of the project handover to enable monitoring and evaluation of a facility. Now, another proposal that we have is preparation of operation and maintenance manual for the facility. We borrow this from how you buy your gadget or your facility or your equipment. Even your own car, it has a regime for operating and maintenance. You're supposed to service your car after 5,000 kilometers. You're supposed to charge your phone once the battery is at 5%. We should also have O&M manuals for our facilities, our roads. For instance, a road that has been surfaced with surface dressing will not have the same lifespan of operation or maintenance as a road that has asphalt and DBM. This is one of the things we are advocating for at the end of the project. Now, the next phase, which is operation and maintenance, one of the gaps that we see in our roads, in our country mostly, is that there's poor maintenance to the point that our roads give service up until they are at this point of deterioration. And we want the standard to be higher. We want the roads to have a higher level of service and not to get to a point of those level of defects. One other gap that is there at operation and maintenance is the lack of road markings, which pose a danger to road users, and especially after overlays. And sometimes the roads are overlaid, and that overlaying, of course, removes the road markings, but the reinstatement of the markings sometimes is not taken keenly. So our proposal is have O&M manuals, that one I have mentioned. One other proposal that we have is that the road agencies be allowed to have their own internal capacity to maintain their road corridors and not fully rely on contracting. For instance, development of potholes. We know that there's the performance-based contracting that our road agencies have adopted, but sometimes there's still a lag between giving the contractor and doing the maintenance. In urban roads and in our county roads, sometimes this is impossible. The potholes can last even a full year. So we are proposing that agencies are allowed to have their resealing units. If we can bring back the resealing units and have different regions equipped with asphalt plants and bitumen distributors. And even outside of that, cleaning of drainages and routine works don't have to be given to a contractor. They could be allowed capacity to do internal maintenance. Thank you. That's my presentation. We'll invite comments. We'll go to the next. Okay. We have the comments after the third presentation. For now, I'll give this back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. I think you can give her a round of applause. Round of applause would be good. We can have the comments, question and answer session after the presenters have done their bit. Please take your comments. We are also receiving comments online. Please keep posting. We'll be happy to receive them. Then I invite Engineer Luther. Engineer John to give us a presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. This evening, I'd like to share with you our presentation on road safety. And this is a collaboration between myself and Engineer John Titai. Now, I think you'll all agree with me that road safety is a critical concern in Kenya. And especially in the last years, the data will show us, we have had an increase in fatalities on the roads in Kenya. And to this end, IEK is proposing some key improvements or some proposals that will enhance road safety in Kenya, of which we are looking at improved road design, maintenance, and operations, which we'll be looking at in detail. Now, when we look at the current situation of road safety in Kenya, this is data that has been collated by NTSA, and it's contained in the National Road Safety Action Plan. We can see that there is almost fatalities, almost amounting to 4,800 per year in Kenya. And if you look at the distribution, we note that pedestrians and cyclists are the highest fatalities among the demographic with the highest fatalities when we talk about road accidents. These are just some more statistics to show that in 2024, road accidents deaths rose by nearly 10% from the figures from 2023, with 4,748 fatalities, of which the majority of the victims are the country's most economically productive group, which is the age between 20 to 54 years. And as we've seen in the previous slide, the people at the highest risk are the pedestrians and the cyclists. Now, when we talk about the economic impact of these road accidents in Kenya, the country is losing almost 450 billion shillings annually as a result of these accidents. So then, how do we move forward? But first, I'd like us to look at the causes of road accidents in Kenya, of which we have identified 4 main causes. The first being poor road condition, and this is something that has been mentioned time and time again. We have various roads being unmarked, not being properly maintained. Lack of proper signage on our roads is also one of the things that has been highlighted a lot, as well as uncontrolled land use and encroachment of road reserves. Another cause is human error. Of this, I think speeding and drunk driving take the highest part of the cake, as well as things like haphazard crossing, walking on carriageways, overtaking on the left side, and such like things. Another is the poor vehicle condition, which we have noted that some of the vehicles on our roads are poorly maintained, and you'll all agree with me that there is generally case of overloading and especially our public service vehicles. Just a moment. All right, and then another cause of road accidents is lax enforcement of the laws, and especially by the people who are tasked with this. So how do we tackle these things? IEK has identified 3 key areas of intervention, of which these are engineering solutions, as well as regulatory and policy solutions, and then also educational and general solutions. We will look at each of them in detail. When we talk about proposed engineering solutions, the first one is improved road infrastructure. Of this, we are looking at a modernized road design, which is driven by data and demographics, as well as community needs. We also note that we need clear signage on roads with roads which have well-marked lanes and dedicated non-motorized traffic facilities, which should be included in the design of the road. When we come to maintenance, my colleague has mentioned one of the proposals is that we have a dedicated maintenance unit for fixing up, especially with regards to these minor road issues like potholes, so that we can have a fast fixing of potholes, as well as refreshing of road markings and things like clearing of debris. Next, this is just some of the proposed routes for enhancement of NMT facilities that this is part of what is being proposed by the institution. Next, we have enhanced road safety features, of which some of the things we are proposing include barrier systems to separate opposing lanes and to protect pedestrians. Also better lighting on roads. You will all agree with me that a majority of our roads are not adequately lit. So, and especially in the urban and peri-urban areas to improve visibility during nighttime. Another of the proposals is land use control to prevent businesses and human activities from interfering with road safety, and especially to minimize vehicle and human conflict. The next proposed engineering solution is use of intelligent traffic systems. And we note that we live in an age of advanced technology, and we can actually leverage this technology for enhanced road safety. And to this end, some of the things that are contained in our proposal include the introduction of automated traffic signs and smart pedestrian crossings, and then pedestrian detection systems in both vehicles and in the road infrastructure. We look at introduction or utilization of vehicle to infrastructure communication for safer interactions, and then also real-time traffic monitoring through use of technologies such as GPS and CCTV to manage the congestion and to detect hazards. Another of our proposals is traffic calming measures, and this is to control speed and to enhance safety. We are looking at speed enforcement on arterials, and this involves ensuring that the posted speeds or the required operating speeds are clearly marked and posted and enforced, and especially on the primary roads that are providing mobility and on highly trafficked segments. We are also looking at installation of standardized speed bumps and rubbles, and I emphasize the word standardized, so that instead of being a cause, they can actually enhance the road safety and in appropriate areas, such as market centers, near schools, and in residential areas to help slow down traffic. Another of our proposals is the safer intersections. We need enhanced intersection safety, which would include things like replacing intersections with roundabouts where they're applicable, introduction of signalized crossings and pedestrian refuges, and the like. When we come to another engineering solution, we are looking at vehicle safety, because unsafe vehicles contribute to road crashes. And with regard to this, we propose a frequent mandatory inspection of vehicles with well-equipped national inspection centers, such that all vehicles, not necessarily just the PSVs and commercial vehicles, will do well to be inspected and be authorized to be on the roads. Another is the load control. So we are looking at strict load control measures, which can be implemented by the digitizing the axle loads controls. Here we remove human contact, then we automate fines, and if in case they are repeat offenders, we look at, we propose something like deregistering of frequent offenders. When we look at the regulatory and policy solutions, the first one is stricter enforcement of laws. And then, and here we are looking at, again, technology. We leverage technology in the enforcement of laws. This will include things like speed cameras, automatic speed cameras, and alcoholic but alcohol checkpoints will have to be, in person, but speed cameras. Also proposing implementation of stricter penalties for traffic violations, which include suspensions of driver's licenses and deregistration of repeat offenders. Also, with regards to policy and planning, we propose ensuring that road safety is integrated into the urban and regional planning, which looks at ensuring that things like new developments and city expansions are designed with optimal road layouts, including adequate road reserves, and also adequate and appropriate NMT facilities. Another proposal in policy is legislative changes. And here we are proposing, advocating for implementing laws such as mandatory helmet laws for cyclists, harsher penalties, and regulation of motorcycle transport. And then we wish to note that some of these laws are actually there. It's just that the implementation is the bit that is lacking. Next, and the last one is in the educational and general solutions. And here we are proposing that comprehensive road user education with the enhanced driver education programs to cover things like road safety. But also in this road user education, we need to also include other road users, including pedestrians and cyclists. Also, with regard to that, we are proposing public awareness campaigns. And for this, we need continuous engagement of the road users aimed at raising awareness on road safety and how to improve road safety. And then the third one is emergency response improvements, of which we are proposing establishing emergency hospitals every 30 to 45 kilometers for fast accidents response and to provide rapid medical interventions. And in conclusion, the road safety crisis in Kenya demands immediate and strategic action. And this action is a collective effort of all the stakeholders that are involved, including the engineers, policymakers, law enforcement, and the general public. We must all work together to enhance road safety in Kenya. And I'd like to reiterate that the IEK is committed to working with various ministries and departments to develop policies, procedures, and legislation to curb road accidents. Let us commit to building safer roads for a safer Kenya. That is all from me today. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, let's give a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Grace. I invite the next presenters, Engineer Joseph Mwakio and Engineer Karen Girono. Karibu.
Good evening, members. This is Engineer Mwakio. I'll be taking you through our last presentation on transportation. So you can see my screen from wherever you are. So still the presentation on is by the Transportation and Highways Taskforce, and this is the roadmap for sustainable transportation in Kenya, and it is presented by, or rather, has been prepared by my colleague Engineer Karen and myself, but I'll be the one who will be taking you through today. So this is a roadmap for sustainable transportation in Kenya, and we'll start by asking ourselves, what is transportation? And transportation, we're giving the most basic definition, that is the movement of goods and people from one place to another. Then, therefore, in designing our sustainable transportation in Kenya, we need to know or to understand what are we looking at. So sustainable transportation involves finding ways maybe to move people and goods safely. So number one has to be the safety, both of the goods and the people. Then it has to be efficient. Then other considerations are like the impact on environment, society, and the economy. So currently in Kenya, the main modes of transport include, they depend on the medium. So we are talking about land transport, that is road, rail, pipeline, and non-motorized transport. Then we have maritime transport. So for us today, we'll be dealing majorly on road and railway transport. So we're asking what is the role of transportation in Kenya? And here we're trying to give a long-term role, which does not depend on maybe the government of the day, but just general, the role of transportation in Kenya. And we are saying that we are identifying the roles as facilitating trade and commerce. That is, we are connecting producers to markets, enabling imports and exports, That is the role of transportation in that sphere, trade and commerce. Then number two, we're saying it is supporting economic growth. In which ways? That is enabling industrial development, creating employment opportunities, and stimulating investments. The third point is on enhancing accessibility and connectivity. So when we say that transportation is a factor in enhancing accessibility, we're talking about the connection to for communities or for people to access other social amenities and services. So generally, what we are saying is that transportation is a key or very crucial part of improving quality of life through access to services, reducing travel time, improving living standards, and supporting other major sectors in our economy, like agriculture, manufacturing, and tourism. So then we ask ourselves the role of transportation in, say, in our current dispensation, that is better economy. Better means it is the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. So this is a policy of the current regime, and it has 5 pillars. So we are trying to see the role of transportation in each of the pillars. So number one is on enabling agricultural transformation. That is transportation, how it connects farms to the markets or to value addition points, that is maybe factories, facilitating access to farm inputs like tractors, fertilizers, and so on. Then the second point is supporting MSME development. That is micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is a large part of the economy. And here we are saying that still transportation will help facilitate access to raw materials. And a main thing is on reducing the transportation costs. Number three is enhancing access to housing and settlement, which happens to be also one of the pillars in the policy. And again, transportation will help facilitate construction by enabling the movement or moving of construction materials to house sites. Then we have the connection of communities to services. Number four, improving healthcare access. As you know, for us to say that we can access healthcare anywhere, anytime, then we must have the road network and the transportation system. So we're saying that we must have transportation for us to connect our communities to these services. Improving healthcare access, facilitating the movement of medical supplies, enabling access to the facilities themselves. Then the last point here we are saying is expanding the digital connectivity. And here we need the transportation systems to facilitate the infrastructure development. That is even in moving the equipment and materials needed for development of the digital infrastructure, such as fiber optic cables and so on. So why should we focus on transportation? Why do we need to focus so much on transportation? So first point is on safety. And on safety, just like it has been covered by my colleague, we are saying that we need to reduce accidents and improve emergency responses. Then the second point is on efficiency. Efficiency of our transportation systems basically depends on how we're managing our traffic and the interoperability of our transport systems. That is when you want to move from, say, railway to roads, how easily can you change your mode seamlessly? The third point is in economic growth, and we're saying that transportation will be a very vital item in trade facilitation and investment attraction. Then we have a point on environmental sustainability. And here we are talking about emissions control. We are developing standards so that we can control vehicle emissions to reduce pollution and at least provide a cleaner air and environment. So we also need sustainable practices, that is encouraging maybe the use of sustainable materials or practice in transport and infrastructure, reducing the environmental negative impacts on the environment. Then there's a point on quality and reliability. We need to improve the quality or reliability of the transportation system. Then we have a point on accessibility and inclusivity. That is, our systems have to be universal, have to provide universal access so that everyone can access. If it is the people with disabilities, the elderly, or even the marginalized groups. So there's also a point on regulatory compliance. We need to focus on transportation so that we comply with these regulations, both nationally and internationally. And again, this will promote our consistency in the framework for evaluating and certifying our transport systems and operations. Then we have a point on technology integration. That is, we want to front the adoption of innovations by providing standards that facilitate the integration of new technologies such as smart traffic management systems, adoption of electric vehicles, and autonomous transport. And the same point links to the data management, because once we have these systems, we need a standardized way of data collection and sharing these protocols in order to improve our planning and policy making in the transport sector. So what are the bare minimums? What are the proposals for our road or transport systems? Number one, we are saying we are proposing that we should have the interconnection of different modes of transport. That is from maybe marine to railway to road. All these should be interconnected so that you can easily switch from one to the other. Again, we are saying that we need a segregation of traffic. Segregation of traffic here means that we just want to improve on safety and efficiency. So we want to achieve it by creating maybe separate lanes for different types of traffic. And maybe we can also have a different lane for pedestrian or cyclists. That is the segregation of traffic. It also covers grade separation. Then we have a point on safety audit. And these ones we are saying they should be carried at all stages of the transport facility, from development, planning, design, construction to operation and maintenance. And the recommendations that come from the safety audits, we are also saying that they should be implemented and they should be followed to the latter. Then there's a point on separation of mandates. So separation of mandates here, what we are talking about is separation of operator and regulator mandates, so that we have institutions that regulate maybe the transport industry, and we have the operators now. So we can have one regulator or two, but we can have as many as possible operators, but all of them, the responsibility and accountability will be on the regulator. So this one is going to help us so that in a way that each entity will be concentrating on their mandate, because the regulator now will be performing an oversight and enforcement roles, while the operator will be concentrating on service provision. So there's a point on operation and maintenance of facility, and we are saying that Maintenance of all infrastructure should always kick in as soon as operation of the facility starts. That is, once, say, we have a road that the construction is done, maintenance starts immediately, so that we can enhance our reliability and sustainability of these systems. And the same applies to our vehicular facilities. That is, vehicles, we are saying they should be inspected or have their structural integrity validated frequently. I think that one was also covered in our safety presentation. So the next point is on strengthening institutional capacity. So we also proposing that the already established institutions should be strengthened to enable them undertake their mandate effectively. Then there's a point on engaging the private sector. Here we're talking about the public-private partnerships, and this will help us in, it will help the sector, that is the transport sector, in financing, construction, and maintenance of transportation facilities. There's a point on data management and probable digitization. This will enable us have timely sharing for efficient planning and development of transport systems. To the next slide, we have highlighted some challenges in the transportation sector. Number one is on inadequate infrastructure. Inadequate infrastructure, we are saying that currently the country has fairly an extensive road network, and but unfortunately only about 12% is paved, leaving the larger part being unpaved. Thus, it poses challenges of navigation, especially during the rains. When you go to the rail network, it is also kind of limited. It does not cover much of the country, so we are not getting a maximum service from the railway. So we also want to propose that it will be able to cover different economic zones in the country. The second point is on funding constraints. As you all know, when you talk of resources, funding is one of the scarce resources. So, and currently the country has a huge burden of public debt. So on to the point, next point on urban congestion or urban traffic congestion. This is a problem that most of our cities are facing today due to rapid urbanization and private vehicle dominance. Then we have a point on unregulated public transport. We feel like the current regulations on transport, or maybe the implementation, are not enough to manage the public transport as it is. The next point is on safety concerns. And the main question here is, our facilities designed and built for safety, or with the safety of the end user in consideration? And I think most of us have the answers. So in the next slide, we'll be trying to give a solution to that also. So then there is environmental impact. So this is both from air pollution, from our emissions, and from the materials that maybe sometimes are disposed wrongly. Then we have a point on institutional capacity, and we are saying that there's need for improved coordination among the agencies that deal with which are in the transportation industry. There's also need for stronger regulatory frameworks and effective enforcement of rules and regulations. So to the next slide, we are proposing some mitigation strategies for the problems or shortcomings that have been identified. So for the first one, we're saying that in order for us to deal with inadequate infrastructure, we need to purpose to expand our road capacity. We need to consider adding lanes or build parallel highways to increase traffic flow, just like we did with the expressway. We need to improve our weighbridge efficiency by maybe implementing more electronic weighbridges, and so that we streamline the procedures at the weighbridge so that we reduce the delays at that point. Then we're also saying that we can invest in rail freight to enhance the capacity and efficiency. Currently, we need to improve on the capacities of the SGR, that is the standard gauge railway, and the meter gauge railway, so that we encourage more freight transport by rail and reduce road traffic. Then we can also develop ICDs. ICDs are inland container depots and freight villages, so that we can improve or decongest our main ports, Mombasa and Lamu coming up, so that we can we also facilitate faster clearance of goods. So we can also prioritize road construction and maintenance by allocating sufficient funds for upgrading unpaved roads and all-weather standards. Then on the same point, we need to engage local communities in road construction maintenance projects to ensure sustainability and to give them that sense of that they also belong in that process. Then on funding constraints, we have identified two mitigation strategies. Number one is public-private partnerships. Then the other one is developing auxiliary businesses. That is promote the development of economic zones and businesses along the transport corridors, so that we can generate more revenue and economic activity along the corridor. Then we had a point on traffic congestion, and we are saying that we need to improve the public transport, so that maybe you can invest in modern and efficient public transport systems, including mass transit systems. That is like BRT, that is bus rapid transit. Then we also need to implement intelligent traffic management systems in order to optimize traffic flow and reduce congestion. We can also promote mixed-use development and decentralization of businesses to reduce the need for commuting maybe to towns. So we also fronting a solution on NMT, that is non-motorized transport infrastructure. So once we invest in safe and convenient infrastructure for cycling and walking, we might also encourage this as one of the modes of transport, so that more people can stop using maybe their private cars to town and use the NMT. Then we have unregulated transport, public transport. So here we need proper regulation and formalization. Maybe implement stricter regulations for matatu operations, including licensing, route planning, and safety standards. We also have another solution on capacity building. That is, we provide training for the drivers on safe driving practices and customer service. We can also organize, ensure that we organize the public transport by supporting the development of the companies and operating that can operate according to clear schedules and routes. On the safety concerns, we are saying that we just need to enhance law enforcement. We need also to do more road safety campaigns and improve our road designs. Then the last point is on environmental impact. And we are saying if you are able to promote public transport, we will be reducing, or more commuters may shift from the use of private vehicles and on board to public transport to reduce the number of vehicles on the road. This one will also reduce the traffic congestion, but it will also reduce the emissions from our vehicles. Then on the same point, we can embrace electric vehicles. We can have incentives for those who are using electric vehicles so that we reduce the emissions. The other point is we can have green spaces. When we have a lot of space on the roads, maybe on the medians, we can plant trees so that we have green spaces in urban areas that absorb these pollutants or the emissions, so that we can improve our air quality. So what is our call to action? We are saying that these strategies or proposals that we have discussed so far, they all need an all-rounded approach that is multifaceted, involving various government agencies, private sector, and individual citizens in order to create a more efficient, sustainable, and safe transportation system. So above all, the consistent implementation and monitoring will be very crucial in the success of this system. Thank you. That was my presentation.
Thank you very much, Engineer Makio and Girono, for the good presentation. Now we have come to, I think we need to give them a round of applause first, because they've done a good job, and I think the entire team has done a very good job. We have also not had a time overrun, so that is very commendable. We now welcome questions and comments from the audience. Some of them we have already seen, quite a number, some comments on the chat line. Some of them are actually comments. We have even seen people chatting with each other there, which is very good. Actually, it means that the engineers are engaging on the subject matter. We are very happy to see that. So the floor is open, but we'll maybe start by attempting to answer or to engage on the comments that are already there, and then we'll see. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Members, for your patience, listening to our various proposals. Ours is really to solicit your input, which will enable us then give recommendations to the IEK Council, led by Engineer Kiteme. And we would thereby engage after your comments, move and engage various road agencies to see how we can work together with them, or various roads and transport agencies, how we can work together to improve our transport systems, particularly the safety components. I would therefore wish to take these opportunities to request those with questions. We have received some comments, we'll discuss them soon. But let me allow people to raise their hands if you have additional questions, and you'll be granted the opportunity to raise your vocal question, which we will address. And thank you very much.
Yes, Edward, you may speak.
Okay, thank you. My question is actually very brief. Is there currently a legal framework allowing? There seems to be. Okay, thank you. Is there a legal framework currently existing that allows road users to be compensated by bad road network courtesy of the road bodies?
I'm sorry, we have some echoes. Could we kindly request you again to repeat the question? It was not very visible. Our technical team has solved it. Please repeat. Thank you.
Kindly proceed again, Klein.
Yes, I was asking, is there currently legal infrastructure allowing people injured or property damaged by bad road networks to be able to be compensated currently?
First, and then we will be able to answer. Anybody else with a hand up, please?
Maybe let me come in. I hope everyone can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, go on. Yes.
Oh, okay. So mine is basically suggestions on what has been presented. And let me first appreciate the work that has been done by the task forces for this noble job. Now, I'll make a few comments, or they are basically suggestions. And the first one is on project implementation. And I've seen in most of the projects, we have the director in one of the directorates being the engineer and delegating powers to the consultancy firm that is implementing the work. We can propose that in the contracts that the consultant is always the engineer, so that we can have independence of determination, and such that the consultant can make impartial decisions. My other suggestion is that we adopt the latest FIDIC. I think it's 2017, because we have been using FIDIC 1989, which focuses more on the employer. We can propose 2017, so that we can have balanced roles and responsibility for both the client and the contractor. On operation and maintenance, I would suggest that we have more PBC and framework contracts rather than having the client implement some of the works. The PBC contracts make sure that there is always a contractor to maintain the road throughout the year, so that we don't have deterioration in the roads. And I think it has been working very well for some roads, like Dika Road. On road safety, I would suggest that we propose a more approach, the safe systems approach be adopted, which is in the line with the second decade of road safety, so that we do not just focus on the victims, blaming the victims. I know most of the investigations that are done, they're done by the police, and they look at the user only. So I propose that we adopt the safe systems approach. And in that case, we should have a multi-sectoral investigation of high collision locations, so that we can have engineers, the police, and TSA, and all other members of even members of the public, so that we can have a holistic approach towards road safety. I would also suggest that we conduct more audit and assessment so that we can have more proactive ways of dealing with road safety. And we can even form a task force that has all these agencies and even fleet operators dealing with road safety and discussing road safety matters. And these people can help us even with the campaigns to improve road safety. I think I can also suggest that we have a live GIS-based road safety database, which can be factual and can give us the insights of what is happening in the road safety. And NTSA should take this up so that we can know the trends in road safety on each and every road, and we can propose mitigation measures. I think we can also work with the Ministry of Education to integrate road safety education in schools. And another thing is we can have speed limit zones where we have the high NMT areas as having speed limit of 30 kph. And these areas should be zoned and marked. Then the other thing is we can also support research in universities and other research institutions. And we have a grant on this. And something else that should be mentioned is we should see how to deal with corruption in the road sector, because these are a serious contributing factor. Another thing is we should focus on or propose having continuous facilities for NMT, because what we have right now is a road having a sidewalk and then it ends somewhere. And the NMTs are left without a dedicated lane. Then we have a serious issue with motorcycles. And I think as of this point, we can think of having dedicated motorcycle lanes. And the last thing I would suggest is that we can think of establishment of a road safety fund, which should be used for road safety projects, including all the E's of road safety, that is engineering, education, enforcement, and all that. Now, on the last presentation that is on transportation, I would suggest an overhaul of the whole public transportation system. And I think this is something we can learn from soil. We can operationalize BRT systems. And in this case, we can see how we can have the owners of the buses and we have operators, basically a company formed to operate the bus system, which is regulated by the government. And this company should contain members of the private sector, the bus owners. We can have people from the government, and we can have even researchers from universities and representative of engineering board. Is like IEK. We can also suggest that main cities.
We are losing you.
So, and this can be done through bidding, which can be done every like 3 years or 5 years. So those are my suggestions on the presentations.
Thank you very much, Gibson. Actually, you make our work even more interesting. And I think we want even to engage you more, because we are only a task force. But then we have the membership, which definitely will give a lot of a great input. Thank you very much for those comments. They are well taken. There was another hand up. I think for clarity, Edward Klein, we were not able to get your points quite well. I think there was quite some interruptions. There's something you said about the legal provision and the damage to property, something. If you can kindly just state that again for the benefit of everyone. Thank you. Edward, kindly.
Yes, thank you very much. What I was asking is there a legal framework governing even those who get either injured or damaged by property damage courtesy of bad road network. Because I've seen a case where somebody's windshield was replaced by the policies, by the governing bodies. So is there a legal framework that Kenyans are not aware of? It was a curious question, but the other comments I have, I've already typed in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have now been very clear. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions, comments? Kindly raise your hand.
Yes, let me start by trying to comment and give some suggestions and answers. And my colleague task force members from wherever you are, in case I'm not very comprehensive, then you might chip in. But let's talk about Edward's question on the issue governing injuries sustained due to a bad road network, resulting to injury and even destruction of properties, and whether there is an existing system which it can be used for recourse and redress when such a thing occurs. It's something that we might research on further, but I'll just pick a few points. Normally, if you have a very genuine case, of course, there's a legal system which you can present it through your lawyers if you are convinced and you have enough details that the crash was as a result of that. And this can be presented to court, and there are some people who have done it, and they've received a lot of recourse, and their case matter settled. So that's one of the ways. Obviously, the existing system also of insurance. We insure the vehicles, and in this case, maybe you're talking about a pedestrian, but for those who are affected, who are vehicular, most of those vehicles are actually insured. And for that reason, the insurance and the policies have the provisions necessary to redress such an issue, and even take steps to recover what they think was a liability of the road. Claims to the road users, insurance companies have that. So I'll still research more on that because I didn't have sufficient information. But could anybody else who has it, he can chip in. I think the second question I got was relating to project implementation. And in this course, I heard about the engineers who are directors, are the project managers. And therefore, they delegate powers to consulting engineers. The consulting engineers take the powers of the delegated engineers' powers. Normally, in most of these documents, is called the engineer's representative. What is important to note, particularly in public institutions, is that the role of the engineer, he might be the director of the department, who is designated by the board or Kurakera to be the engineer of that project, and in writing should be emphasized. Now, if you have consulting engineers, the role of the boards must still try as much as possible to retain the engineer's powers and only delegate what is necessary. If you have a consulting engineer, you will delegate, and the delegated powers is enshrined and detailed. What have you delegated? But the overall responsibility, because the institution will be responsible. All institutions need to have competent engineers. Let's remember that consulting engineers help us normally to consult, to do the bigger work, the burden. But it would be very unfortunate if a consulting engineer has more knowledge than the engineer. It should not happen. You should have more knowledge on the subject than the consulting engineer. That's why retaining the engineer within the institution would be important. And then he delegates in writing what is supposed to be the powers of the engineer's representative, who in most cases include the resident engineer. So a consulting firm then provides a resident engineer. So that, and then it goes downwards. I will not go further than that. That would be the most ideal. I see some institutions where consulting engineers are the engineer. That is pretty, okay. They are still engineers, they are members of IEK. And it's good, we also get consultant. But it would be very important for the purpose of control and accountability that the engineer be the person in the institution, because eventually the payment of work done and the risk management lies with him. So he's the final person who signs the certificate. Not that people do crazy things, but we all know that human is to error, and there could be areas in which the consulting engineer may not, or an engineer who is a resident engineer in that firm may not adequately address. There's something also you raised about the FIDIC 1987. I think it's 1987. I don't remember the 89 one, but I remember the 1987 one vis-a-vis these other modified FIDIC. There are even versions. PPA also has got theirs. And we have all, and the World Bank and this, that people have got their own contracting form of contracts. I think this we really need to leave to the institutions to choose what they feel is better and specific to the project. There are certain projects which a certain version may be better in terms of implementation. So this really would not be something that one would choose, as long as the institution properly focuses on the type of project that they are trying to implement. The 87 was more employer based or earlier. If you go to the other FIDICs, you'll find that they are more trying to bring in the contractors and consultants in and giving them more power. But it really, I don't really feel we should recommend that we make the institutions fix to which one they're supposed to use. Let their management institute try to choose what they feel is adequate. Then I think George asked something about investigation on accidents, and I agree with him that we must do the safer system approach, and that is something we totally agree with you and we recommend. That investigations really need to take a bigger spectrum, and is part of what we are working on as a task force to look at what will be the recommendations, what we can make as a recommendation. And if you have any suggestions, please, George, you may put them down in terms of writing. And for all the things you said, I think we will really appreciate if you can also put them in writing, because some of them are recommendations. There was more additional assessment. What was the other one, if you can remind me?
So, in terms of PPC, the contracts, contracts,
okay,
bringing in the post account.
Yeah, thank you. Just a minute. 1 minute. 1 minute is. Yes, I got it. There was some clarity a bit. Yeah, I get the point. I realize that we should get the contractors, right, to still do our maintenance, and some of them have worked, George. For example, the thickest highway, you can see this. It's relatively well maintained, but you'll see some other roads. For example, Kenyatta Avenue. Would you expect to get a pothole lasting for a month, for 6 months in Kenyatta Avenue? And they still have these contracted maintenance regimes, it would be important that the institutions have a reserve unit that if there is underperformance, and some of these contracted parties are underperforming, and their contracts have fines. We will not get the public to suffer, yet a simple portal or simple maintenance, it can be done internally. So it is good to have that reserve, and it has been implemented in Nairobi County some time back when we were there in NMS. We found out that a lot of roads had potholes. There was no ability even to have a simple wheelbarrow of asphalt to seal a hole. So as much as you contract is good, but you cannot exhaust the the level of maintenance that is required. So we recommend, in our opinion, that a combination of both be put in place so that there's a backup system. So that we don't say, this road is porous, maybe they have been a pothole for too long. Yet it is something that just requires a pickup load of asphalt to come and correct. When you look at the drainages, particularly in some urban areas, you'll be surprised what causes the failure of most pavement structures. And as much as you're giving it to a private person, he's not taking the full risk of the maintenance regime and the investment required by not performing well. So there's a small problem, and you can relate it even to corruption in some cases. But how can major roads in our cities particularly fail because of very poor drainages? The pavement structure is not communicating to the drainage. The drainage has clogged. And further, you'll find that the people, or the non-motorized sections, which have been there, even I was brought up in Jericho Estate in Nairobi. There was a very elaborate pavement structures which we used to use when we were going to school, non-motorized structures. But we find that right now there's a lot of concentration on recarpeting of the roads. So I think let us have both. Let the institution which is supervising have both capacities for intervention in the event so that we have 100% surety of good roads. And then there was a light GIS database. We concur with you on this one. I don't think we have any comment. And then there's another comment you made, which was very good, looking at education in schools. Introducing road safety education at very early stages so that it's part of the curriculum, whether it's geography or whatever it is, as they begin, so that people appreciate at a young age. And this will really help. The other thing I would just add is maintenance regime. I think is an area which should also be introduced as a curriculum in school. Maintenance regime, not only for engineers. Maintenance. We have a culture that when you buy something, or you build a house, you don't paint it until you wait for the contractor maybe who will not come to repaint it. So it's important that maintenance regime be an educational thing, be included in the curriculum. Corruption in roads, yes, true. And this is something we need to look at. That's why there were very clear recommendations from Engineer Emmy on this project cycle. We have issues related to roads that have been done without design. You can't find a design report. Road completion reports and certificates are signed without a maintenance manual having been delivered, so that maintenance doesn't kick in at all. So these are small things which the contractors get away with. And these are things that we need as engineers to put in place. That's why I think we went to a lot of pain to try and bring the project cycle, not to educate you, you know it, but to emphasize on the gaps and how IEK should participate in ensuring that those gaps are properly sealed. NMTs and dedicated lanes for motorcycles, yes, agree totally. We strongly, as I can, if you could check one of the slides that was prepared by Engineer Grace, you would see that we have been working on the NMT major corridors that need the attention of the policy holders to ensure that Nairobi has those corridors implemented. They are in different colors. We will not have enough time to go through them at this place, but it is something that we have designed. We know which are the corridors. We know the corridors going to industrial area. We know the corridors going to Madare. We know the corridors coming from Kibera. They are very well enumerated into industrial area. So that has been designed. Look at them and then give us your input. Number two, we have strongly advocated for road agencies. Kindly, when you are rehabilitating roads, there was in those roads space for NMT. Kindly try to prepare, include in your contracts NMT repairs. Don't leave them out. You find that part of the safety and accidents that occur is that the road was recarpeted and not a single drop was done on the walkway. So pedestrians really struggle. And 43% of our population in Nairobi go to their places, movement through NMTs, through walking, and a bit of cycling. Cycling is not there because it's unsafe. So we need to create an integrated system that completely talks. And we have the map. We have both maps of an integrated walking system in Nairobi, but for the small roads that are built or recarpeted, let institutions, because it's not additional cost, it's not very expensive, let them ensure that we include spaces for people to walk under the rehabilitation program. Road safety fund, very good suggestion. We take it on board. It's something we'll talk about more. We have it's a good idea you have brought on board. We had not reached that dwelling because also on the transport, our presentation on transport, when we go to the next webinar, we'll go into much more detail on the slides that were put, and this might be include the road safety fund. Overhaul of public transport system, yes, and agreed. We need to overhaul our public transport system. And we need to go back, even in the transport system in our urban areas, to go back. Those who know KBS, some of us have 30 years, so we are a bit old. So we saw Kenya Bus Service, the old one operating a diametric system, which came from Jericho. We had number 7, number 22, and I think number 8 going to Kenyatta Hospital, the other one going to Kangemi. So the Kangemi was the terminus. Now, if you go to the city center, you'll find a congested, people have bought also vehicles, and it's not, the vehicles are not even matching demand. So overhauling the transport system is very key. And therefore, there are some steps which have been taken, and we take cognizance of that. The BRT is a solution. We have BRT in several corridors. Financing for some of them has been sought, and they are really going to operate. You can also commend efforts of the railway lines. They have been rehabilitated. They were dead completely. Nowadays, we see trains in the Embakasi line. We see trains going to towards the Thika Road, bypassing Dandora. And we also know that even trains going to Kikuyu, the rail has been rehabilitated, and we need to put more rail stations to enable mass rapid transports and interconnectivity to go. We also know the railway city is beginning to take shape. And so the BRT models, we are going to chip in to bring the participation, discuss a lot our views with those institutions that are handling this. But overall, we really agree with what you said. Let me hand over to my colleagues. Anybody with a comment to chip in where I didn't adequately address. Thank you.
Okay. This is Engineer Mimo. I'm just getting back on a few of the comments. I acknowledge the comments on my presentation, especially on the construction project implementation. I agree. I think especially the comment on the contractor's capacity and the engineer's capacity, they should be at par because the interactions need to be the same to make supervision easy. And I think this is one of the areas that has affected the quality of our projects, the quality of our output. So I agree with that. I'll not add more. The only other thing I wanted to say is that the presentations will be shared to all participants. So no need to worry, the 3 presentations will be shared. Thank you.
So also for those who send us digital comments, some of them have been addressed by Engineer Mimo. We can see feedback on the design manual, which we should be reviewed 10 years. Yes, we completely agree. The rate at which technology is changing, we should be in tandem with that. The rate at which technology, materials for construction evolve. So we agree with that. Engineers space in public procurement. Yes, I can see somebody commented that we need to do that. We feel that there should be an amendment to that act so that, it cannot be so lopsided that the procurement officer becomes so in charge of a road construction more than the engineer. So there's something need to be tweaked there. Okay, electrical maintenance measures are being proposed. Can we incorporate standalone solar light? Yes, true. I mean, roads should be lit, and we really encourage the solar systems, which are dropping in price by the day because that technology is becoming cheaper and cheaper by the day. So we should not have dark roads, really. Feedback from Emmy, I can think somebody construction stage, let's propose contractors must be qualified. She has addressed that. Boniface Madenge, under human error, one of the largest contributors that is missed out is vehicle stopping on the carriageway and enabling factor is wrong attitude to law enforcement. We need the law enforcement authorities to have zero tolerance to safety violations. Yes, there is a challenge in the enforcement, and somebody else commented here, which I agree, that the road agency, it should be a multifaceted approach. The road agencies must also be concerned if the statistics show a lot of deaths on their road and non-compliance in terms of traffic laws, to see that we engage with the relevant authorities to improve in terms of the management. Good proposals which should be escalated above. I've seen that. Venetia Maka, how can good road sector involvement program, RSIP, be incorporated in policy to ensure the continuous maintenance of roads? Yes, I agree with you. This is something we wonder, because each project, us as a task force are really wondering how a maintenance document is not prepared at the end of the project. We quickly sometimes rush to the certificate. This one called 5% release of final retention money and so on. And then we get 1 page of a completion certificate being issued. But it's far from that. There must be real documentation showing the maintenance regime, the contractor has installed certain equipment on your roads, how are they replaced, how long should it take, and so on and so forth. So we insist on agencies. Please make sure your supervising engineer and project managers receive appropriate document for maintenance and any other document, including design. I saw something about drawings, really, on the roads. I mean, I can't understand. Where have we reached where a road is done without a drawing? It's totally bogs on my mind. In all our training, and maybe it is old school at this time, but I think our training said that engineers after design, which is the main core, eventually communicate through the drawings. So drawings is an instrument that cannot miss in a contract. For a contractor to go to field without drawing, it's an offense, actually. And the engineer who is there, and I think we have IEK institution and so on, we will be looking at that. People should be capable. We should soon consult and recommend that engineers who do that really need to improve. Presenting, I salute you, Engineer Amy, recommendation of empowering road agencies to fast track emergency repairs on portal. Yes, it's good, and we agree with those comments. Kindly human error on general indiscipline of motorists, lack of regard highway codes. I think this can be solved technologically, and somebody has raised it here. We really need to have a digital system for these traffic offenses. I know Kura has a digital platform in their place monitoring several junctions, particularly wetlands and so on. And you can actually see traffic offenses there. We need to integrate it with NTSA so that immediately you make a wrong U-turn, for example, you just get a ticket. Once you are through with it, there's a ticket on your email telling you this is what you're supposed to pay. So this is where we need to go, because involving human contact has not taken us very far. Jimmy Gidui, good engineer, I salute you. Engineer, you got a lot of salutes. I'm sure the salute is also being passed to me because we did the presentation together. Eddie Dennis, most of the major city roads, especially those in areas not traversed by the expressway, lack street lights. Big problem. Yes, in Aban, we agree with you. Let there be a budget. And it is not very expensive. You put solar. If they don't work, you put a backup system during wet seasons so that the other one can kick in, the electrical one. So you don't have a lot of electrical bills. Let this be important that the roads are lit, particularly in urban areas, because inter-rural roads, inter-county roads, you may not put the lights, but sometimes I see it, I get surprised. There's a road in Machakos going to Kitui, in the middle of nowhere. I find 50 streetlights just in a dark area. So let's look at that. I consider Engineer Esther I concur with Engineer Esther on the technical, James Ngodo, necessity of technical contract inputs, very good. Edward Klein, lovely idea of real-time monitoring, especially roads, that's good. Ombegi, having preliminary and detailed drawings before tendering process begins will solve the challenge. True to the word. As engineers, there's no way a drawing or a road is going to be constructed when it has not even been approved by the engineers who want to supervise it. We should ensure that documents are signed. Designs are the main work for the engineers. Supervision is copying, making sure that what you designed is on the road. So not a lot of thinking, but design is where the thinking is. So that must be signed and certified by competent engineers, and we have them. Inspecting all vehicles in the country is an overburden, adding more burden and leaving cost to the populace. We are looking at that and we agree. We don't want to add more taxes or things which are controlling you. But remember that while buses and heavy trucks have got the inspection and it's now being enforced a lot, remember also the accident caused by people who are driving vehicles which are not roadworthy on the roads. And we know this. You must have come across one or two vehicles that you are seeing the wheels are almost getting off and is in front of you. If he rolls, you also get involved in that accident. What should be done? So as much as you say that it is expensive and it might come, please give us a suggestion. What should we do to these other small vehicles as we continue developing the policy? When we went to the bus building, KB, what was it called? KB, Kenya Bus Manufacturers, we realized that over 70% of the buses today running on our roads are unroadworthy. They don't comply with the specs. Are you aware? So these are key issues. That's why you see when a bus rolls, you find that the whole roof has been sheared off. It was not built to the standard. And this is something we are really going to push so that together working with our road agencies, NTSA and so on, that compliance to that is a must, because that's where a big number of our population moves. People get maimed and killed, yet 70% of the buses are unroadworthy, should not have even been on the road. David Obiambo, inspecting of all vehicles. Yes, you talked about that. I've just mentioned. Give us a suggestion. That was the purpose of this. What do we do with the normal vehicles, our saloon vehicles, which are unroadworthy? There's something we need to do. Probably corruption itaongezeka. Ukweli, yes, corruption itaongezeka. We agree with you with that. Obegi, some drivers put other road users at risk by not servicing their vehicles. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Bonobegi, you're with me. What do we do? Give us suggestions, members of the IEK. What do we do? And we know very well some of these vehicles even ram into Nenis. There are even some small matatus, which are not supposed to be matatus, which are saloon vehicles, doing public transport system. I end up Kariobangi. Small ones, vans. They're doing public transport, they are unroadworthy, and no action is being taken. We must, as IEK, take action. Boniface Madenga, harsher penalties for traffic offenders is not correct recommendation for Kenya. The biggest problem with traffic violation in Kenya is that most of those who commit traffic offenses do not go through the formal law enforcement process. I totally agree with you. But okay, but luckily I have a chance to be in London and to drive in London roads. I have a license. I can tell you that the biggest revenue is from traffic offenders in London. Mr. Engineer Ochieng, I think, who is a professor here at our university, helped design the system that ensured that ukicheza tu kidogo hivi, you are fined immediately. Wrong overtaking, not stopping on the knees, it's all monitored. So we cannot say that, it will be a violation of those who commit offenses. Let us solve this problem by technology. And let us know it's also the revenue earner for the counties. Big revenue earner for the counties. So we will be looking at, our team is looking at how we will engage the counties to invest in technology. Until you don't need to have traffic. For example, in our roads, Uhuru Highway, you have the police, you have I don't know who, the lights are working. How come people still offend? So we need to tighten that. Let people get fines. And in London, the fines are very hefty. And if you do it 3 times, your license is automatically cancelled. So we must go to punitive means to protect our citizens, our children, our mothers, and our loved ones. Misha? I'm looking at any other any under road safety we should also consider. Pedestrian safety, yes. Jimmy Gidhui, safety and transport matters concerned involve stakeholders in the sector. Yes, totally, we will do that. Public transport should be not entirely be in private hands. Totally, I agree with you. We should not have public transport in private hands. That is a mistake that was done. For those who know Kenya Bus Services was co-owned by Nairobi City Council. It was not a private venture. So we need to have public investment in public transport system. And also there's something which was asked here, I'll just conclude, about having stakeholders in this public transport system. I can tell you that the BRTs, the plan in the BRTs in the ministries and in Namata is to ensure that stakeholders, the owners of the BRTs, the rolling stock particularly, will be the owners of these matatus and other Nini systems so that we can have a very organized system. Thanks for taking too long to comment. And I wish you, I go back to the moderator to guide us on the next steps. Thank you.
I think we have one more comment from Amy. You're done? Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, team. We have had a very good evening. And thank you for the audience. We have been very engaged. We like that. And I think going forward, we will also be, want to continue being engaged. Now, I will invite the chair, Engineer Ochieng, to give his closing remarks so that we can then close forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Mine is really to appreciate your patience and your attendance. I can see we were more than 212 participants. It was almost going to 300. It has reduced now for the 212. And we really appreciate and we solicit your inputs. Please, I would suggest that some of these comments you have made, some of them be sent to the IEK and onward transmission to the task force. Please give us some ideas in writing. It will really help us. The space of 2 hours is not enough to discuss the whole of our agenda. Secondly, we know we are going to come back with our second webinar for this task force, and we will dwell in other details. So, and we will ensure you will, at the end of that webinar, we will also stipulate very clearly the roadmap and which institutions and some of the comments that you have made, how we are going to actualize them. It's good to make comments, but I believe that it's not just to keep comments in terms of data and to keep them in the files, but I think that this time IEK wants specific actions. We are preparing standards for IEK. I think President mentioned that. This will also be input here for the road sector. If you have ideas, we want to ensure that IEK also has standards, has manuals, which can be relied on as an institution. I thank you very much. And I think because we don't have a closing prayer, we have a closing prayer. I've been guided appropriately. For me, thank you and God bless you.
Yes, kindly, Karen Gerono, pray for us, and then we'll pray for the day.
Okay, let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come before you this evening. We thank you, Lord, for the gift of life and for the gift of our colleagues. Father, we thank you also for the good presentation we've had and also the engagement we've had with our colleagues. Father, we pray that whatever comments we've been given as a task force, may we incorporate them and even refine these policy document that will be coming out soon, and even improve the operations of IEK by incorporating comments shared by the members of the institution. I thank you, Lord, and even now as we proceed to our various homes and destinations, may you be with us, cover us with your precious blood, that you may get there safely. And Lord, continue guiding us in this in the engineering profession. And may you also be with the leadership of the IEK, that whatever policy statements and even guidance they give to the members and the country at large, may it benefit our country and members. I thank you and I pray this short prayer, trusting and believing in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.